You are listening to the Wild Man Podcast.
All right. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining the Wild Man Podcast. My name's Aaron. Before we get started, just to let you all know, Jacob couldn't make this one because he is out there celebrating getting married, his wedding soon. So him and his lady are out. So I kind of am taking over the reins on this one. So with that all said, I'd like to introduce somebody who I feel like is one of the tightest guitar players out there and definitely super underrated. Mr. Alex Bailey, right?
Bailey, yeah, you got it right.
Right. I was like either Bailey or Bailey.
first time, man. Awesome.
And this is Alex Bailey of Cognizance. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you very much for having me here, man. Pleasure to finally send like a lot of voice notes and messages back over the years, but never actually been on a proper call. So yeah, nice to have a chat with you, dude.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you making the time. I know the time difference is crazy. It's like 5:46 over here and it's 11 a.m. over there. But I was like, man, I'm going to do this. I haven't actually talked to this guy before. This is finally an opportunity to finally get to speak with you. And we've collaborated over the years. You've collaborated on 3 of my projects. So I was like, man, if there's anybody I would like to talk to, I finally want to talk to Alex. So
yeah, here we are. I mean, big respect, because at 5:46 I couldn't think of anything worse than talking to someone else at that time of the morning. I'm not a morning guy, so fair play, man.
Hey, no worries, dude. I have to wake up early in the morning for work anyways. I work in the medical field, so I mean, waking up early and then dealing with people is what I do. So this is worth it for me, you know what I mean?
Awesome. Good stuff.
So, man, and also before we get started, I just want to say congratulations on the new addition to your family.
Thank you, sir. It's been he'll be a month old on Monday, and it's been an absolutely wild 4 weeks or so. Like last night, he was having one of the nights where like he just won't settle, so neither of us got particularly good sleep. But I think this is all just part of the course, really. But thank you, man.
Of course, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I bet it's a transition for sure. That's awesome, man. So happy. I'm super happy for you, man.
Thank you.
So tell me more about yourself, man. Like I know, how did you get into metal? What was it that got you started?
So I remember the kind of like bands. Well, there was always like music in the house when I was growing up. So I think, like in the UK, it's very common, like the first time like you meet people, to always talk about like football or sports and things like that. But it's like, well, I didn't grow up in a house where we were that into sports. Like my parents didn't watch any sports at all. So it was always more kind of like films, music, so the arts really. So my dad would always have music on in the car. So he was really into like Rush, so grew up listening to Rush. And then kind of like when you start to be a bit more independent and able to kind of do your own research and find bands that you like, I can't remember exactly how I found a lot of it at the start. I know like watching music TV channels, so like Kerrang, MTV2 were a big part of it.
Man, and like hearing that.
Yeah, MTV2 was so good. And like just the mixture of like different bands and genres they'd have on there, from like, you could have some much heavier stuff through to just kind of like just, all the cool kind of rock coming out of America at the time. But anyway, like the first bands that I really got into was like metal bands was definitely Korn, Metallica and Megadeth.
Okay. And
I remember there was a guy when we lived, where we used to live, there was this guy over the road who was a couple of years older than me. And he'd like found a lot of these bands already, and he played guitar and stuff. So he'd kind of like exposed me to a lot of it. But it was definitely those sort of 3 bands that I was like really into the most to start off with.
That's awesome, dude. Is honestly kind of the same for me. Like I would, growing up, my introduction to metal was being a kid. So, like 10 years old, and I met someone we kind of know in the scene, Ken. When I met Ken as a kid, like it was the first metalhead I ever met, and I kind of ran into other people who were into metal. And my introduction wasn't Metallica. I mean, so many people say Metallica or Black Sabbath. For me, it was Death and Pantera. That was the first like real metal I heard. I think anything before then, I just saw them over the weekend, but the first like real metal thing I'd ever heard was AC/DC. That was kind of like the closest thing. And like my mom, I grew up in my mom loved music. So like Elvis Presley and 50s music, Bobby Darin, Frank Sinatra, rockabilly stuff. And my mom, saw Janis Joplin and The Doors and Jimi Hendrix live and Elvis. They got to meet Elvis. So I grew up into a lot of that like music. And then my brother was into gangster rap, Red Hot Chili Peppers and No Doubt, and like really in the 90s stuff, the Cranberries. So I grew up with a big broad of music, but then like getting into metal, I got into it in like 2000, right at that time when it was like, for me, the big albums for me was Pantera, Vulgar Display, Sound of Perseverance by Death.
Nice.
Chocolate Starfish, Hot Dog Flavored Water by Limp Bizkit.
Oh, so I definitely missed a big chunk because that was the first album or CD that I ever bought was that Limp Bizkit album.
Yeah.
And then, so I remember buying that, and my dad let me have it on in the car on the way home. I remember exactly where I bought it. We were in Scotland. I bought it at a supermarket there, and there's that first song. Is it Hot Dog? It's the one that's got all the swearing in it, and I think he was quite oh wow, this is really lives up to needing that parental advisory sticker on the front of it. Then it's all come back to me now. Then I remember I got Hybrid Theory is the second CD. And maybe around that time I got Iowa as well. And then that was when I started to get all the Korn albums. And I think when I first got Iowa, it was just as it had come out, and like Left Behind was on the TV all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure, especially on MTV too.
Yeah, and like I think I pushed myself to get it because at the time it was a little heavy for me. It was definitely on the heavier side. Like the aesthetic of Slipknot was kind of beyond some like the other stuff that I was into. Certainly when you compare it to like Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit, who are a lot softer. Slipknot was definitely picking it up. But after then, that's when I kind of got really into Korn and like those classic thrash albums as well.
Yeah, I think it was the same for me. I think those first two Slipknot albums, the self-titled and like all the way up to Iowa, I always took that aesthetic kind of like Kiss. I was like, oh, it's kind of like the same theatric. It's just a theme. It's like a thing. And so being a kid, I never really got into that. But like those first Slipknot albums were amazing. And I saw Ozfest from 2000 all the way to 2005. So I saw them at that time. And it was really special, like what they had going on at that time. It's kind of like what you're kind of seeing now a little bit with like modern bands today, like Lorna Shore and stuff like that. It's kind of like there's this pop, and we haven't seen it in a while. And I gotta admit, like it's kind of cool to see again because it's bringing a lot of diversity. Because I remember, man, it's so many different, very like kids going to those shows at that time when I was that age, and now I see it again, but now I'm older. But I feel like there was a time there where it was like mid to like 2010s where it was kind of just the same type of crowd, just a lot of guys kind of with their girlfriends or whatever. But now it's like it's way more diverse again, like it was in the early 2000s. And I'm happy to see, though, if people don't like Lorna Shore or whatever, there's other bands right now I feel like Peeling Flesh are like kind of the new a new gateway band for a lot of people and a lot of other up and comers that are coming up, and they're really bringing another new like wave of diverse crowd, and it's really cool to see. I think the community of metal's kind of like becoming more diverse crowd in terms of like there being more of a variety of people going to these shows and like younger kids. So I mean, there was a lot of kids when I worked on the Lorna Shore headliner on the Texas run. It was these kids' first shows, like, and I was like, man, I remember being that young, seeing my first show. Like, my first band is really cool. My first show was, my very first show was Ozfest 2000. That was my first metal show ever.
That's killer.
Yeah.
Who was playing that year?
That was when that was the one with Pantera.
Okay. Yeah. Because I remember watching. Is it that? I mean, there'll be lots of different songs recorded, but there's a video. I'm sure it's of Domination from Ozfest 2000. It's like a really popular video. It's a classic one.
Yeah, I remember Static X.
Nice.
Yeah, that was there. They were on that one. On them. I remember when I saw Static X, I had never heard anything like that before. I was like, "What is this?" And I remember Ken being like, "That's industrial." And I was like, it's kind of dancey. I remember, and he's like, well, if you dig that, you dig this band called Rammstein.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're a little slower, but they have those kind of like dance moments. And I remember immediately right after that, I was like, I'm gonna check that out. And then that movie Triple X came out.
Yeah, I remember that with
Vin Diesel.
How there's this? I can't pronounce the song. I'm not even. It's the one that.
When they're playing it in the club.
Yeah. That was on TV.
That's what those dudes look like? Crazy, dude. Like the pyrotechnics and everything. Yeah. I was like, this is wild.
Like, that's just the average German guy there. They're all like that. But that would, to be fair, I think for me, my dad's super into Rammstein. But that song that was in Triple X is one of the weaker big singles. I thought there was way better ones, but hey, obviously Vin Diesel was made the choice. That's the one for his Triple X flick that he wants.
What's really funny about that movie too? I was reading up about like Rammstein a long time ago, and I was reading about that, and a lot of the aesthetic of that, like, so they really wanted, the band basically said like, hey, if you're gonna do this, like, we're gonna do this right. We want this. You guys, the way that I guess the scene was at first was like it was not authentic to that scene, whatever the industrial scene was. So I guess like the vocalist like told the director like, if you really wanted to be authentic, you really need to have all the leather and you need to have all the aesthetic. So they got like that very BDSM look and that club and the lights and all that. And I guess that was a lot of the circuit they were playing was those like rave, goth, like alt goth BDSM clubs, and like they were really involved in that. And so a lot of that aesthetic in that part of the movie, which I think is the most iconic part of that movie, is when they're in it, is because those guys were like, you're doing it wrong, this is how it looks, this is like how it should look. And so,
have you seen the Rammstein documentary?
Dude, it's
really
one of the
good.
ones I need to watch. It's one of the ones I really need to watch.
I think it's on, at least over here, it's on Amazon. And it's awesome. Like the last couple of times we've gone away to record, it's one that we always watch. But yeah, check it out. It's really good. You'll enjoy it.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. And I think my first introduction to that band was Ingle, that whistle, super catchy. And then the brown out, but down out, but down out, but down.
Yeah.
You're like,
man, they've had some killer tracks.
Dude, that album, I finally just got it on vinyl. And I just remember front to back. It's like, man, this really bringing back the memories, the member berries,
Yeah.
It's really just, I forgot how, when you listen to an album again you haven't heard in a while, how significant it was in the soundtrack of your childhood.
Yeah, man. Again, another band that was always on MTV2, with all those different singles like Sona, Links 2, 3, 4, I think it's called. What's the one where it's like got Snow White in it? the video I'm on about where they're like miners.
I think I do. I'm seeing it in my head. I
like, at the time it became annoying because it was on all the time. So I remember like watching those channels. Like at that point, it was those Rammstein videos were on. Tainted Love by Marilyn Manson was getting plugged relentlessly.
I remember that for sure, especially Headbangers Ball.
Yeah, Foo Fighters just came out with what's the song? I can't remember what the song.
Is that the one with the "You're the best, the best, the best"?
No,
It's not that one.
This was earlier than that. It's the one where the song starts going. Is it One by
Oh
One?
yeah, I think you're right.
One by One or All My Life. Like one's the album title, one's the song title.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like that. And so like, because it was on all the time, you're like, God, this is so annoying. But now when you go back and hear it, you're like, oh fuck yeah, some of this stuff is actually, really good. And like you say, it brings back a lot of nostalgia when you hear it.
Well, it's funny that you say that, and we'll get back. I know we're going for a little tangent, but I'm loving it. Okay, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but you know what? I really don't care. I'm one of those people where, like, later I got into a mode where I was like, why did I not like that band? What was it that I didn't? Did I just get on the ballpark for it, or did I just like hate it because I really didn't like it? And so I went back to a lot of albums or bands to listen to, and I'm like, okay. This is verified why I didn't like it. And then there's some where I'm like, let me take it back. And I gotta admit, man, it's like there was a time where like that first Nickelback album, that very first one, when it first came out, I'm not the biggest fan of the music, but I have to admit that production was insane.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Nickelback has some absolute rages, dude.
I agree. They got some bangers for sure.
I remember last year, like, me and one of my mates found, I think it was on Netflix, we watched the Nickelback documentary, and then like we went to Austria a few weeks later to do some band stuff, and on an evening we're like, oh, what should we watch? I was like, guys, the Nickelback documentary is fucking awesome. So
is that the one where he talks about getting like a ton of hate, and his wife's like, yeah, he was like getting a ton of hate, and what the hate was about that band, like when it just came out of nowhere. Yeah, I think I've seen clips of it. It's awesome.
Really good, and like there's like loads of like live mixed high production parts in it from like live shows, obviously, and they sound absolutely awesome. So I'd love to go see them. I think
for the production at least. For the
production, and they've got some just really heavy, catchy riffs.
For sure, I agree. So, their tone is awesome, dude.
Chad is a little. I could see why he'd be a little bit polarizing, but like some of it maybe unjustified to a degree. But yeah, they got some really good stuff. They got some stinkers as well, but who doesn't? So
everybody's got some stinkers, especially a band like that. But I will admit, when they go hard, they go pretty hard. Like it's not bad rock music. Like it's they have heavy moments for sure. And I know plenty of people across the spectrum in the scene, plenty of well-known names who are like, Nickelback is fucking awesome. Like, sick as shit.
I can't remember what song it is, but it's like there's a drum fill or like a beat that goes into the track, and like it's so sick.
Animal?
Maybe I'm no good with the song names of Nickelback.
I'm not really either, but I think.
But like the drum part is killer, and the sound of the drums is amazing as well. So yeah, they've got some good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me more about like when did you lead up into Cognizance? Like, so were you like in a previous band already, and were you in bands before, and it kind of led up to that? So how did that work? Because I'm really interested in figuring out, because you guys are definitely, in my opinion, one of my favorite bands in terms of tech death. I feel like you guys are one of the tightest bands, and I just, it's so criminal to me that you guys do not get enough recognition.
Cool, man. Glad that you dig this stuff and hold us in such a high regard. So appreciate the kind words. I mean, like since I was in high school, like towards the end of high school. So over here, that's when like your end of high school is like you're 15, 16 years old kind of thing. Like that's when I first started playing in a band, writing original material. And then when I went to college, so that's straight after high school here. So I think you guys have colleges. We know college. You know, college is university, I think.
Yeah, university. Well, there's different kinds. There's university, college, and then there's like I'm totally brain farting on the name right now. Community college.
Right. Okay.
So there's like one below, which usually people go to get to work on a bachelor's, and then they go to a university to get the credits
Right.
in if they didn't get in right away.
Okay. So yeah, I was about like 16, and this band from Leeds that were on this record label called 30 Days of Night, which is the label that like Bring Me the Horizon were on.
Okay. Oh yeah, they're in your area, Sheffield, right? They're from Sheffield.
Yeah, so they're about an hour from here. So we live.
Okay.
I live in North Yorkshire. They're from South Yorkshire.
Okay.
But yeah, they were on this label, and like as a kid, I went to like local gigs all the time. The scene was absolutely amazing. So like the closest city to me was York, and I remember the first kind of really heavy gig that I went to. I've been to like a few big kind of arena shows before this, but my first proper kind of, I guess, death metal, extreme metal gig, deathcore, whatever the hell you want to call it, was Suicide Silence, Abigail Williams, Silosis, An Eternal Lord.
I remember that tour. I remember seeing that on MySpace.
Dude, it was crazy. It was September 2006. And
Space for sure.
yeah, I went to it, and it was the most intense, coolest thing I'd ever seen. Like, so that kind of got me more interested in heavy music, and then I started to go to a lot more of those gigs. So I'm mainly in Leeds, but there was this record label, 30 Days of Night, was pumping out all kinds of cool bands, and they had a band on it called Soul Fracture, which stuck out a little bit because they were, I guess, more thrash, melodic, death metal kind of thing. I always really liked them. I thought they were cool. And anyway, so I left school, went to college, and then saw that these guys, the guitarist, the second guitarist had left, and they were looking for a new guitarist. And these dudes were maybe like 6 or 7 years older than me. Anyway, I reached out, and I was just like, I'd love to try out. So I remember I went to their practice space in Leeds, and I think they were like, who's this little kid with kind of long dyed black hair I probably had at the time. And like we jammed a couple of songs, and it went okay. Anyway, they like hit me up, and they were like, you can join the band. So I played with those guys for a few years, and that was really cool. Got some good gigs because we were on that same label as a lot of these bands. Although all the best gigs they played before I joined the band, so I missed out all the best stuff, like playing like Carcass and Testament and things like that. So yeah, that eventually fizzled out. And then I played like a couple of like fill-in gigs. So before I even joined that band, Henry, who was the original vocalist in Cognizance, he had a band, and we went on tour with a band called Trigger the Bloodshed that were on Metal Blade.
I remember that band.
So we did that tour, which was a wild experience within itself, but that's a story for another day. And then I did Soul Fracture, then I did X's for Eyes, and then kind of after that, like I was just wanted to sort of like do my own thing. I remember just writing some kind of like riffs, and then that's basically when I started to get like a very simple recording setup. And then kind of me and Henry had expressed try to do some stuff together. He would do the vocals, and then I'd do the guitar, and it was just kind of going to be like a 2-man band thing with like program drums and stuff like that. So I remember we wrote Inquisition, which was that first EP, which took us a long time to record, and like quite fine to recording it. And there was a bunch of times where we'd like recorded it and scrapped it and started again. Chris Fayers and Nathan, who were in Soul Fracture, also recorded some parts on it, and Chris wrote one of the songs for that EP too. But yeah, we like recorded it. Oh, this is dog shit. Scrapped it, started again, and then I remember the final time that we recorded that EP. Quite late into the recording, Henry was like, "Oh, we should get Alex Rudinger to play drums on it rather than have programmed drums."
Alex the OG, I love that guy.
Yeah, dude. So that was. Did he do the drums in 2011 or 2012? I think maybe 2011. It feels like a long time ago now, but he did.
That's definitely pre-Faceless era.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it was before he even joined the Heart Machine. So when.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
we're going back.
Time. So when it was kind of towards the end. Well, it was after we'd recorded the drums and we were kind of like getting the mixing done, which was a whole other kind of escapade within itself.
Oh, bro, you know I know all about that.
But yeah, I remember he sent me an email saying, "Oh yeah, I'm joining this band from the UK." And I was like, "Oh wow, what are the odds?" And then that turned out to be the Heart Machine. So that's kind of how it all started. It was meant to just be a sort of like 2-man kind of fun thing, and then I guess I just kind of like got the bug for just wanting to constantly write, record, and put material out, and then it's just kind of like snowballed from there over the years, really.
All right, dude, that's awesome. The first thing I think I heard from you guys was when Upheaval came out, and you had already done the guest solo for Aerith already for the song that finally came out.
Oh yeah.
And I remember Ken was like, "I got my buddy to do a solo on this. What do you think?" I go, "This is awesome. Who is it? What band?" He's like, "Cognizance." And I'm like, he goes, "Dude, they're so sick." And I remember you guys had just put out Upheaval, and I was hooked. That album was probably on rotation in my car nonstop, dude. Like, I mean, I could not get enough of that. I was singing so many praises. That was probably my album of that year for sure. Like,
awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I was hooked immediately because I kind of veered off tech death for a while. It just felt, and it still does sometimes, but I just felt like everybody was just trying to like outwank each other, or just like really trying to be the next Muhammad. Like people were trying to make this necrophagous mark. And I mean, that's at least what it came to me. I'm not saying that's what it was, but there was kind of a thing where it was just like, let's just see who could do the craziest stuff. And everything just really sounded really quantized at some point. And I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I just don't believe you could perform this at all. It just sounds way too tight. And then you guys came out of nowhere. I was like, damn, dude, drums sound perfect. They sound real, organic. Everything sounds really good. And even though I know some of this is sample replaced, it sounds so acoustically tuned in. It sounds real. It's really produced well. And the guitars are on point. I can hear bass through it all. And I mean, I was like, the direction you took and the choices you made to make the tech death sound so, it was something I hadn't heard out of the scene in a minute. And I just really felt like the approach and the choices to detail to really make it sound like such a great product. It was phenomenal, man. Like the production you guys go with, especially on the new album, In Light and No Shape. I feel like again, you guys did it again. I'm just like, you know what you want, you know what the sound is, and you figure out small ways to continue to push the sound, yet without sacrificing integrity of whatever it is that you guys are trying to get to. And I just, man, and you guys, I'm a huge fan of your drummer.
He's great, man. He's a great fit. he has such a good, well, not good, like exceptional work ethic. So, you know, there's a lot of trust in the band because we've never been there when any of the drummers in the band, although he's really only been the only real drummer that's actually been in the band. You know, we're never there when the drums are recorded, so you know, like we just have to trust that he's gonna put all his love into making sure that, you know, he's getting good performances. It all sounds great, and it always works, man. And like he, you know, to practice the parts, like he'll put a lot of effort in. So he's kind of one of these guys that, like, I think sometimes goes quite a while without playing his drums. Yeah. And then when he's got an album to record, then he'll be, you know, putting the hours in to make sure he gets it done. But yeah, Upheaval was a really, really hard album to record. So I think I completely agree with you in terms of, like, I think within the genre, I mean, I don't listen to a lot of it. I listen to a lot of the older kind of tech death, or I don't know if I like the term that much. I think there's technical death metal and tech death. I kind of more prefer technical death metal. I think tech death's kind of this modern cluster of a lot of bands. Anyway,
you know what? I agree with you. I agree. I agree with that sentiment for sure.
But like, I am really turned off by the ultra tight, super processed, perfect sounding stuff. And I'm not saying that, you know, what we're doing is anything kind of groundbreaking, but like, you know, there's no quantizing of guitars. Sure, there's punching in, but there's no kind of real hard, like, quantizing or edits. You know, there's just a lot of working hard to get the right takes and playing with, you know, try to play of as much feel as is really kind of possible for this sort of genre. But with the writing as well, like, I mean, so Paul joined kind of as the album was nearly, all the songs were nearly finished, and then he wrote 2 songs. But for the albums that we've kind of done 50-50 between us, like, we have no issues writing riffs, but what we really have to do is have a quality control where we try not to just like, oh, I need another riff, here's a riff. We really kind of try and dissect to say, well, is that the right part? You know, put a lot of thought and love into it. So I guess that I'm hoping that kind of comes across to make sure that, you know, it's not just like back to back of the same kind of thing, which so like Upheaval, as I say, because it's really quite technical, that one was an extremely hard one to record. And kind of when I finished that, I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to do another one that complicated, at least for a while. And we'd kind of done that, but it was the first time we'd recorded quite differently. So we went away. I basically found this cottage in the middle of nowhere, and I said to the guys, "It's like, well, let's just go there for 2 weeks and take loads of all our recording gear for guitars, and we'll go there and record guitars and bass." And so that's what we did. And honestly, it was like the luckiest find. The place was perfect. The room was perfect. The location was unbelievable. And so we would just go there. We've been there 3 times now, and it's always an absolutely incredible experience. I think that really kind of contributes to just being able to go and just record yourselves in a disciplined way. So it's like you're going to a studio, but we're doing it ourselves.
Kind of separating yourself from the elements, and just all you're focusing on is the writing.
Well, it's just more the recording. So the songs are always we do really thorough pre-production, and quite often as well, like when we do like layers and stuff, like the layers we do in pre-production, or at least quite a lot of the ones that I do in my demos, are the layers that stay. So you try and record to a decent quality where you could actually use some of it on the finals. but yeah, when we go to this cottage, we just go and do all the finals there. And usually, I think on Upheaval, we recorded each other a little bit, and then on the Fantasin, we recorded each other a little bit. But on the latest one, we just recorded ourselves mainly, and that seems to work. We just do shifts through the day and late at night, and yeah, man, best times, so good.
You can hear it in your writing. You can hear it in the music that you guys have created a camaraderie in the band, because I feel like the music really portrays that. It sounds like fun technical death metal. It's fun, and you can just hear, I don't know how to explain it, but like I've always felt like you can really hear with certain bands, like Killswitch, for instance, is a great band. Those guys are such great friends. They've been together forever, and and you can hear it in the music. You can hear like when an Adam riff comes in. You can hear, oh, that's a Joe riff for sure. You can hear in the chorus when Jesse or Howard would sing something, that was definitely an Adam call, and like you can tell the lyrics between the two. You could just tell, and the reason you could tell is because these guys don't let one person write one thing or they let the other. It's a whole community of things, and of everybody in one making one sound, and I love that with you guys, and I really feel like it's just so fun to hear, and it's just such a good time front to back. I feel like it's not like I have to work for it. There's so much insane crap going on, and technicality, and sweeps, arpeggio, whatever. You don't sacrifice technicality for the riff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that.
And I think it's like, never really try to make complicated stuff for the sake of it being complicated. That's just kind of like how it comes out. And there's some bits where I'll want to be quite stripped back, but we're never kind of like pushing to say, oh, this bit needs to be crazy. Sure, there's some bits we're like, oh, we should amp it up a little bit, but like, as far as the genre can go, I'd say our stuff is pretty reserved at parts. I just try to be as creative as possibly can, and whether it's focus on kind of bits more the kind of like more harmony focused and kind of like different colors of things, not just kind of like an all-out assault all the time,
Right.
But
I
also,
really feel like that too for you guys. Didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to pinpoint on that. The other thing I love about you guys is that when to throw that melodic melody in there, in between, which makes it catchy. And it's like I could actually hum your riff. You know what I mean? Like I could actually your riff can stay in my head instead of like articulating it through the technicality of it. You keep it simple, and you're actually more death metal rooted than you are with the technicality, and I can hear that in your playing, and I love that. I mean, and I could definitely hear a lot of the UK influence that you have in there, a lot of the UK death metal scene. Like I feel like I hear some there's some Opeth moments in there. I kind of hear where you're going with it when you're kind of just galloping. I was like, oh, that's very kind of little Opethy, and then you've got like definitely some moments where the progressive parts come in your leads, which I love that too. Like that's just, and it's so melodic, and I love it.
Yeah, man. I mean, we all listen to so much different music, which I honestly just think is the secret to just being a good musician is to just like music. It doesn't just have to be one thing. And I guess sometimes that's, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here, a bit of a frustration with some of these new metal bands that are blowing up, and I'm just like, there's nothing new here, there's nothing really that inspired, and it frustrates me a bit. It's like, we can do a bit better than this, guys. And sometimes I just feel like those are bands making music that only listen to that genre, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that subgenre of metal. Yeah, I know
what hey, maybe I'm just a bitter old man and jealous that they've somehow cracked it. But, I couldn't listen to one, especially one subgenre all the time. I could when I was kind of like a teenager, like you'd be super diehard for that. But no way now. Like I'd like to listen to all sorts to cleanse the palate. And I think that's the secret to kind of, when you then get back to your instrument and you've maybe not listened to the thing that you're about to make for a while, these ideas either flow into your head or just into your hands. And certainly for like melodies and like chord progressions, like you can't just listen to brutal extreme stuff all the time. No way.
We were just talking about that with Jordan from Pyrexia the other day on the podcast, that the last thing, and I agreed with him, I'm the exact same way, the last thing I want to listen to while I'm actually writing metal is listen to metal. When I'm in the moment of listening to metal, because it takes away from the ether of what ideas that will come your way, because then I feel like maybe that's a better idea, what he's doing, maybe I should do that. No, maybe we should try doing something like that. And when that happens and you're trying to do something someone else did, it should just come organically. And I feel like I actually get more influence from stuff that's actually non-metal when I'm writing metal. I really feel like I get better ideas. Like I get a lot of ideas, and I'm probably gonna shoot myself in the foot here, like listening to like Phil Collins.
Oh hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He gives, I don't know what it is, but when I listen to No Jackets Required.
And what an album title! Like with an album title like that, it's like how can you not like?
Dude. He's like, fuck the standard. I don't give a fuck about your jacket. I'm going in wearing whatever the fuck I want. And
absolutely awesome, bulletproof. But dude, there's like if you like music, you like music, and you're not gonna like everything. There's some stuff that I think is absolute garbage. You're entitled to your opinions, but I think sometimes there's so much stuff that people could be missing out on that they would never have even thought they would like, that they would love if they gave it a spin. But look, I think sometimes the only time I'll maybe kind of like, if I'm writing a song in the genre that we do and I'm kind of like getting stuck, usually with a bridge, sometimes I will listen to other bands and I'll be like, oh, how did they get from A to B?
Yeah, I'll do the same thing.
Stuff like that. Or sometimes we'll kind of be like, oh, this needs like a death riff with like that Gene Hoglan beat. That we'll do that kind of thing. Ken
and I would do the same thing with Aerith. Be like, hey man, it needs the Daniel, like the In Flames beat.
Yeah.
We're like, when we say the Daniel beat, we know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, man. And I think everyone does that stuff. So
for sure.
It's just a balance of everything. You take a bit of this, a bit of that, this approach, that approach, and then and it's the same with songwriting. Like we usually, maybe besides like a couple of tracks, I'll write it all here, and then I'll kind of put it to the guys, and then we'll tweak stuff. So it's not just like one person's effort, and then everyone puts their parts to it. And again, it's that amalgamation of all these different ideas that make the final product what it is.
Some of the best, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from Devin Townsend. And I got the pleasure to meet him a few times, but I was talking about music with him, and him and I both have had a struggle with addiction. And so we were talking about that with each other. And he actually spent a lot of time talking to me, and this was after an after show, and I was the last person. I waited for him to talk to everybody, and I was kind of in the corner. And he's like, you can come on over, like come say hi. And we just started talking, and we got to a point where I was like, so what is it? Your sound has evolved. What is it that got you from here to here? Like, because the sound is broad. He's one of those guys where it's like from, Steve Vai Band to Strapping Young Lad to Devin Townsend Project to what we know now. Like, that's, the sound is insane, right? And he just goes, man, the best advice I can give you, he goes, don't be afraid to show your influences, like in the music. Don't be afraid. Show it, let people hear what you love, what makes you tick. And also don't be afraid to make it your own. Don't be afraid to make it original. He goes, I am a cultivation of a lot of artists. He goes, I am a cultivation, as an artist, you're a cultivation of what inspires you. He goes, and eventually you get to a point where you evolve, where those ideas and your influences become your own outlet through your own filter. And as you listen to more influences and you filter it out, you eventually find your sound. He goes, and that's the way to do it. He goes, in my opinion, he goes, but people are afraid of that because they want to be something different right away. They want to be something new. They want to break the barrier. And it's like, sometimes that will happen for some people. He goes, but that's not going to happen for everybody. Have fun, let your influences show, make it your own, have fun, and take risks, you know? And I feel like that today, it's more about staying to a formula. It's very formulaic, especially in certain subgenres like the metalcore scene and deathcore scene and stuff like that. And there's a way to like spit this stuff out like fast food because a lot of the production's the same. And you start hearing a lot of the same things with the same production because, you know, and I'm not saying there's anything bad with that. I feel like what you were going off on a little earlier, why those bands are making it big and you're kind of like, damn, like how that happened, like, and we're here. I feel like it's just right place, right time. There's a new wave of fandom that's building up, and these bands just happen to drop something at the right place, right time for that type of demographic that's coming up. And there's still more of us oldies, but the new kids are coming up. You know, we're kind of like the oldies of the scene now, kind of. You know, the adults.
Yeah, I guess so. I think just kind of coming back to what you just mentioned, like you strip all of this aside in terms of like writing music, making music. It's just got to be fun, you know. Yeah. That's just the number one thing, really, or what it should be. Like, you know, just enjoy doing it, even if it, you know, it's stuff that you never release, no one else ever hears. That's how you like to spend your evening, just goofing around, making some music because it's fun. Just do it, you know. So I think, you know, always for me has to come back to that main point of just be fun. If it's something you're passionate about, even if you're literally just doing a carbon copy of band X and Y, who cares? If you have fun doing it, just go for it. And if you release it and people enjoy it, then that's the bonus, you know. That's the kind of ideal outcome. You had fun doing it, other people have fun listening to it.
Exactly. I have a new project, and I'm not trying to segue it in, but I have a new slam project, and I've been having so much fun with it. And one of the reasons why I'm having so much fun with it is because I'm not taking it that seriously. The whole idea for it was I wanted to, because I have been Peeling Flesh is one of my new favorite bands of the last decade for sure. They're fun, they're awesome, great dudes, fun live, they make me laugh, their samples are amazing, and it makes me feel like a kid again. And I was like, I kind of want to do that, and I've never really done vocals like that before, and I'm having a blast. But what I love about it is that I'm not taking it too seriously. I'm not caring what other people think. And the whole idea was to do it like kind of do a Peeling Flesh style, a little bit more death metal based, but still very slammy, but over the top in terms of like with dark humor. And I really wanted to add that in there. And I go, you know, beware, not for if you're easily offended, you're not gonna like this, but it's supposed to be funny. It's just meant to be a good time, and I feel like that really revamped me back, because with all the era stuff that was going on, and I took a break. I really feel like working on these other projects, and I'm working on my other project with Cameron again. We're kind of like getting stuff going. The fun has come back, and when you have fun, it's like it's nonstop from there.
Yeah,
you're constantly peeling it out.
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. And like you say, you might just have a new project, and that reignites your passion just for making music. Then happy days, you know.
Yeah,
good stuff. So glad to hear it.
So what's going on with Cognizance now? I know you guys just came out with the new album, In Light No Shape, and I know you guys have any shows lined up? Anything in the?
No, same old. No shows. You know, we would like to look at doing some, but we're definitely not really interested in doing any touring. That's for sure. And I guess when you're kind of like not touring, it makes it hard to get on some kind of for the one-off like festivals and things that we want to do. But honestly, we've not even really tried, to be fair. Like it's hard being kind of spread out. So me, Paul, and Chris all live within about 20 minutes of each other and stuff. But obviously David's across in Austria. So that aspect makes it harder to get together. And then when you're not playing shows really at all, then you kind of have to get your chops up, learn how to play together again. We did one show at a festival like 7 or 8 years ago. We've not done anything since, so we'd like to do that, but honestly, like it would, I guess, coming back to the fun thing, it would just be cool for us to do, but we're not super hung up on it. And you know what, like it takes a lot to get this sort of music to sound good live, but our main focus is always just making more material, simple as that. So we got a lot of new songs demoed and written, so well on our way with that. And then we're just kind of like figuring out what we want to do next. If we want to do another album, if we want to do a couple of EPs, I'm not really sure, but there's lots of material there. It's been fun to write it. It's been the usual kind of complex puzzle that I get a bit obsessed with, trying to like think of, what can we do differently this time? Or we always do that move. What's something a little bit less predictable? So that's kind of what's going on, really. And when you're not a touring band, you're kind of just limited to this. But
there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like that's another future for metal, like for music in general. Now people don't have to like do those kind of worry about the logistics. We can just worry about the logistics of being a stay-at-home artist, making music, and go from there.
Dude, for sure. Like I've no real interest in doing any tours for so many different reasons. And
especially right now in the current climate, the logistics are just
dude. I don't want the stress of that. We all have like busy, full-time, normal day jobs. I don't get me wrong, I would love at some point in my life to do a tour like that, but I think it would be playing for someone else. I don't think it would be for this band, really. But hey, we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, we just enjoy writing music, and then when it comes to recording it, each other's company. And I think that's also how we've been able to kind of play or keep this band going for so long, is because there's no real pressure, there's no real, it's just kind of, we do it how and as and when we feel like it, but we're still really consistent with the pace that we churn stuff out as well.
I was just about to say that you guys are very consistent, which means that's the opposite end of not touring. At least you can keep consistent things coming out.
I mean, you kind of have to, really. Certainly we do, with being a very small band, to try and make new fans, because you're really just relying on cutting through all the noise on the internet. You've got to put stuff out frequently, and like the consistency is never really a chore. It's just kind of like a bug that I certainly have, where I just want to keep putting material out. And I think if you threw touring into the equation, it'd be very easy to kind of just be like, after a while, fuck this, I'm just constantly losing money, I'm busting my ass to play to not many people, and not really that interested. I would, like I said, love to play shows, but I appreciate that until we're a hotter commodity, we're probably not going to make the cut for some of the stuff that we like to do. So
you just don't want to bring that element of stress into Cognizance. Cognizance is a stay-at-home project, and the Cognizance is like when and where you can do it. And if you brought touring into the equation, it would break up that pace a lot. And as much as I'll tell you this, man. I'll say this right now. If you guys make it to where you're playing a one-shot festival, I will fly out there. I will make it happen. I don't care. I will renew my passport like that, and I will be out there, because I don't want to miss that. But
okay, game on. Like, dude, honestly,
you're like, all right, I'm gonna put you.
yeah, it would be really cool to do. Like, we always say, oh, maybe next summer. And I guess, it's just something that because I do a lot of the sort of behind the scenes stuff. It's that sorting shows. I've said to the other guys, like, if you want to do it, like, you think about that. I don't have certainly in the moment of having a newborn, it's like I don't have the headspace to go about that. So, if you can make it happen, I'll get my chops in order. But yeah, it's just one of those. We'll see. But I hope, this band can continue, and there's no time limit that we have as to when it might be in a few years we play some gigs and people still want to hear us. I don't know, so we'll see.
Hey man, anything can happen. I've seen weirder things happen, and I've seen plenty of projects that turned into bands, that were one-man bands, and they ended up being something live, so I mean, weirder things have happened, and I think no matter what, dude, I think whatever it is that you're doing, as long as the funds and Cognizance, man, the music's still going to always be top tier, and I couldn't recommend it enough to people. Like, and I don't mean it to just like stroke an ego, or like, I'm a big fan. I've loved this band since the minute I heard it, and it's been a consistent band of the last 6 years, or at least the last like 6 years. 5 years that I have been listening to you guys, and it has been on a consistent rotation, and I think a lot of it has to do with just the approach of where you take it, the amount of thought and care you put into the production, and how you would want, like, you set a standard for the sound and production for how I could tell it would be live. And I know if that's the case, it would be a lot of work to make that work live, because it has to be tight, has to sound good, and the chops got to be there, because it's really tight. And I could tell it would be that type of live show. And it's kind of like Entheos is a great like way I could segue into like how that band is live, is exactly how I feel like Cognizance would be live. Very tight, very precise, technical on one end, but still very groove driven. And that's the thing. Another thing about Cognizance I love is that you guys incorporate a lot of groove. And
oh god, yeah, like,
and again, I'm like, oh,
super important to us. Like, in the earlier stuff, it was kind of just like, I'd always wanted to work with some drummers that just could, do super tight blasts and really over the top drumming. So like, obviously Alex was one of those, and don't get me wrong, he's exceptional at grooves as well. But when we work with
one of the best on that ride pattern.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude, but then like kind of later on, it's like, oh, you've done that a lot, and the groove is kind of, certainly my taste in extreme music was more like, okay, I heard lots of blasts, now it's more grooves I want to kind of hear and kind of connect with. So yeah, put a lot of thought into that, and always try and make space for the grooves to just kind of give the listener a moment to just kind of reset and just to kind of lock in with a part. So yeah, we put a lot of thought into that, and who knows, that's the sort of stuff that those bits translate live really well too. So yeah, groove's super important.
Yeah, man, and I think that's was when I heard Upheaval, I was like, wow, man, there's a lot of elements in this, but the baseline to this is the groove, and you put it in there just at the right time, right after a good chaotic, good riffy moment, and then like just groove. And I just, God, I'm a sucker for that. I'm a sucker.
Yeah, man.
It could be because my baseline from Pantera, and that groove style, and I'm sure Dimebag was a bit, it sounds like Dimebag to me was a little bit of an influence on you in terms of like groove.
Yeah, like definitely Pantera grooves, stuff from like And Justice for All,
Oh yeah, for sure, I could hear that. Yeah, the Headfield. Yeah,
for sure, like the classic kind of Marty Friedman era, Megadeth albums. God, where else does the groove come from? Just a lot of thrash for sure. Lots of thrash, even like kind of more modern thrash. So like Havoc, Power Trip, all sorts of stuff. I just love it, man. I really do. I would love to do a thrash band one day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And like that all comes from like for the most part, like the higher tuned guitars. So while we play on 7 strings or have them for a while, it's still just usually in standard tuning. So a lot of the grooves are kind of just using the E. Which kind of gives it that more old school sound rather than everything these days that's tuned super low.
So your tone is raw. Your tone is like really. It's like it's got like an amp, like a really crunchy amp sound, which is another thing I like. I feel like you could tell sometimes when it's digital a lot of the time because it's just really clean. It could still sound raunchy and dirty, but there is a little distinct, in my opinion, a distinct difference between like a tubed amp and like a VST or something. And I really feel like, I don't know what it is that you're doing, if you're hybriding it or whatever, or if
it's always real amps, man.
And like I could tell.
We try not to reamp either as well.
Okay.
So usually the amp that we record with is the amp that makes the final cut. So we'll use an amp head, and then we'll use some kind of load box. So we've got an impulse, so there's no real cabs. So that aspect is digital. Yeah. And then, man, we'll just take a long time to kind of play with different sounds and different combinations of amps and guitars and pedals. But yeah, like I like a really kind of mid-focused tone, not huge amounts of gain, but just juicy enough. And then usually for rhythms, it's an Ibanez RGD. So like the last album, used this one. Although Upheaval and Fantasian, we used Paul's RGD, which has got a Damasio Crunch Lab in the bridge. And this time, before I changed this, it was 2 bare knuckles. And like it has on the latest album, there's a kind of like a plasticky-ness to the rhythm tone that was from the pickup, which I'm kind of annoyed we went with that guitar. But you know, it's trial and error.
Trial and error. There's always going to be one thing. There will always be one or two things, you know. I mean, but I liked it. I like that. You know, a lot of people. I know some guitar players hate it, but they go with it. But later it's more prone to them. But it's that scratch of the pick to the string that you get, that like that little scratch when you chug, when you're hitting the string and whatever. And I know some guitar players, they're like, God, it's just too much. I'm like, I don't know, man. It's adding that, like, you know, there's like a I don't know what it is, dude, but I love that in the chug, just that scratch, that light scratch at the end of it.
I mean, you listen to those early Meshuggah albums, like that was kind of where it all came from, that kind of rectifier sort of sound, when they're kind of like, you can feel how his pick hits the strings. And that's kind of why as well, like, sort of went off reamping a little bit, because, you know, a lot of our earlier stuff, pretty much including the first album as well, was usually reamped. But like you lose a bit of the kind of, you played to the sound of the amp and how it felt in your hands. And then when you change to a totally different setup, you can sometimes lose some of that. So that's why I tried really hard to get like the kind of close to the final sound as possible. And usually what we do is, with whoever's the mix engineer, is send him some tones before and say, this is what we're going to aim to use and to commit to. Do you think it's going to work? Are you happy with it? And if they're like, yeah, then it's like, right, okay, that's it. It's done now. We've got to lock it in. Because certainly with like amp modelers, like, you know, I've had like Axe Effects and Kempers and stuff, and more so Axe Effects, you can just tweak a knob every time you turn it on for the sake of tweaking a knob, and option paralysis. Whereas playing with, you know, analog amp heads, like, you just you commit to it. So that's why I like it.
Hey man, no hate to digital. I mean, I think
that is some great stuff.
Kempner is awesome. I think the profiles and making your own tones and VSTs and what Misha has been doing with tones lately. I follow him extensively and I love everything that he makes in terms of his profiles and his tones. I love that stuff. But there's just something when I hear a band out of the plethora of bands that are using digital tones and Kempners and Axe Effects, when a band just out of the ether just pokes out, just out of the mist, and you just hear that tube, you hear that amp, you just know, you're just like, oh, it just takes me back to like the old, there's just something about it. I don't know what it is, but it's just,
I think it's quite hard to tell the difference. It really hard to tell. I think it's maybe more so the type of tones they're going for.
Yeah.
Because a lot of bands that all sound very much the same, and then sometimes those ones that do their own thing, or the mix feels like it breathes a bit more. That can sometimes you think, oh, it's a tube amp, but maybe some of these bands that sounded the same were using tube amps. It was just kind of the final mix is super slammed. It doesn't come across that way. But like for leads, I love stuff like the Axe Effects. We used Chris's Quad Cortex for a lot of guitar solos on the new album.
So you are hybriding a bit between
for like leads and effects layers and stuff. I love the digital stuff. For sure, I really do. I think you get some really cool stuff going, and it's just a case of just experimenting, and that's the thing that I love to do with recording in general, is just experiment as much as you feel comfortable with, to see what comes out.
Well, I love that you're hybriding it. Like, solos, we kind of mess with the Axe Effects, but then when it comes to the riffs and the actual structuring of the song, we tube it. That's awesome. I think that's great. I mean, it's kind of like no different too than when somebody has a whole board of pedals and they have everything set up to get that lead tone in, and then they just hit a button, it goes back to the tube amp. You know what I mean? It's really honestly kind of no different now, to the point where it just kind of, you can make it all automatically happen at once. The computer just switch it over.
It's all different combinations. Even with like when we use like the Quad Cortex for leads, there's still we use some analog pedals with it as well, like in the effects loop. And same with like some of the cleans. Some of the cleans are from the Cortex. There was a Jazz Chorus plugin I used, which is the only plugin I think I've ever used on any recording. And then sometimes these pedals, where it's just all whatever feels at the moment. I mean, even on some of the rhythm tracks, there is I think we used 3 different guitars on the rhythms. So there'll be some, usually it can be to do with tuning. There's a particular chord you've got, and one guitar just won't get it in tune. We'll use another guitar, or so we use 3 guitars on the rhythm tracks. Mainly that one that I showed you for maybe 85% of it. But there was some bits where we just went back and re-recorded it with another guitar because it just sounded more in tune. And dude, things do not have to sound completely uniform and perfect is the main thing I'd say. I love different guitar solos have different tones, things like that, just goof around and whatever suits the part.
And I love the imperfections in albums. I miss it. There's a little imperfection in there, you could tell, but it was a cool sound, so they kept it. You know what I mean? When I go back and listen to Al Qadama in the Faceless, it's such a great clean album, but raw as fuck too at the same time. And you could tell that was just you could tell probably a lot of that was trial and error as they were going. A lot of the song structures, from what I understand, is where they were already there. But a lot of that stuff, there was a lot of changes during the recording of that album too. Not a lot, but some moments where it's oh, that kind of sounded cooler. Let's try that. And then King kept that in. So I like that stuff when you could hear it too. Oh, that sounded like on the spot. You know what I mean? Like there's like those moments in albums.
Dude, that's 100% in my opinion the way it should be, and that's kind of why I enjoy recording so much, because this is just that magic of the moment. And you know, like I say, we'll kind of go in with like really thorough demos and pre-production being done, but then just see what comes out in the moment. And don't get me wrong, there's some stuff that you'll change, and then a week later when you hear the change, you're like, that's dog shit, let's just put it back to the original.
Yep.
But just the magic of the moment, like whatever comes out, and that for me is kind of what puts the final touches on a record, because you get excited to hear those new bits that you've not heard a million times already from the demo. So I absolutely agree with that approach. Is just on the spot, like, oh, that's cool, let's do that. I feel like that with vocals too. Like I'll hear an idea for vocals and I'm like, okay, da 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 da, and maybe my voice might like not hit that tone in that one take, but I was like, oh, that actually sounds cooler in a mid. I mean, I was like, yeah, actually, you know what, I'm gonna do that instead, you know, like. And I'm the kind of vocalist where it's like I'll depending on how I'm feeling with the song, I don't like doing the same tone the whole song. I do like to kind of give it some ups and downs, you know. And so playing around with that, and it's no different for a guitar player or a drummer or anybody. It's like those moments when an accident happens, you kind of are chasing for those moments and you're hoping those moments come. And a lot of that also only comes when you're with the right group of people to make the music with. Yeah, man, you know? Absolutely. And you feel comfortable that you can try that, and you just got to trust your instincts as well, because I can't get the words out. It can be easy to get carried away and change stuff for the sake of changing it. And sometimes you got to know that kind of like the parameters with that, and have someone as well to kind of rein you in to say you're just changing everything when everything was great, or actually you're making these changes and it's improving the song. So and I guess that's the discipline of recording and producing your own bands as well, is knowing when you're making suggestions for the greater good rather than just trying to put your stamp on it for the sake of putting your stamp on it.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that happens a lot, where you get a lot of producers that kind of butt in. I can't tell you, you know, I had a friend, I won't name the band, but somebody we know, they made an album, great engineer, great producer, but when he sent back the album, he had changed a lot of stuff, restructured things, moved riffs around, and they were just like, what the fuck? What do you do? Oh, well, I just, you know, this and that, and from a technical standpoint, engineering standpoint, I felt like this and that. And they're like, it's a completely different album, dude. What are you doing? And it's just because sometimes they need to put somehow their mark on it, especially with a bigger name. And I've noticed, I feel like when it comes to engineering, that happens often. Or, you know, hey, $8,000, you know, you my name will be on it, you get this and that. But when you send it in, I'm just throwing it in a template.
Yeah, that for me, that's a really interesting point, because equally while that example you gave where that person had made loads of adjustments to arrangements and stuff, the band didn't feel like it worked out, at least they made the effort and they cared to try and make things better, even if they didn't all agree. Right. Whereas, you know, paying a lot of money to just drop it in a template and make some minor adjustments, like, you know, that's the opposite end of the spectrum, you know. So it's nice to find those people that care enough to want to make the adjustments rather than just see it as another quick and easy job.
It's when they don't tell you they're going to do it. That's when it's like, bro, what?
Well, I guess it depends, because if you like it, then what a pleasant surprise. But when you don't like it, then you're like, oh, how are we gonna tell them? Yeah, I've had some awkward conversations over the years, but that just comes part and parcel of doing this and working with different people and getting to know them and how they like to work, how you like to work and stuff. But it's always interesting, is getting to the finish line of submitting the files to the final kind of master coming in. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's not, but hopefully the final thing. You're happy.
I was actually about to say we should probably wrap it up. We've been doing it a minute, and I just saw the time, and I was like, probably should wrap it up here. I'm sorry if we just lost. It was fun.
Great to talk, man. Thank
you.
You.
Man, it's fun to finally meet you and like face to face, sort of. But yeah, man, keep me in the loop of what's going on, and
Sure.
I really appreciate you making the time. And but yeah, man, thanks again. I really appreciate it. And everybody who's tuned in, thanks for tuning in. And check out Cognizance. No Light, No Shape, or In Light, No Shape is out now. You should definitely check it out. And thanks again, Alex. I appreciate it, man.
All right. See you, dude.
Later, brother.
The Wild Man Podcast. Let's rock it.